To my bow brothers all, I have some good news.
It's good. It's so good.
Hello, my fellow hunters, and today, well, my fellow bow enjoyers, or as I like to call it, ranged greatsword, or as I actually now like to call it, the weapon winner of Title Update 2, because to just say it, wow, we have done good here. Anyone who likes putting arrows in monsters, you're gonna have a happy day after you finished witnessing our new heights of power. Both new weapons, Lagiacrus and Seregios, are good and worth using. They're not better than Artian in every situation, and I'll go over it in detail in a moment, explain special sharpness and so on, but they're certainly going to be in Hunter's hands, which is really cool. And we have just strictly upgraded new best sets, 2 specifically depending on what you want, and again, I'll go over them both in detail with the math and all of that goodness, but know that we have done it. We have had a massively successful Title Update 2, and more importantly than that, both monsters are so satisfying to hunt with bow. I mean, everything is, but the lovely slick chains of discerning dodges you can get as you dance with these beasts is eclectic, and I am very, very pleased. Previous weapon meta then, before Title Update 2, was essentially you use one of 2 Artians against every monster. There was some more niche dragon situations with Convert Element and the Arkveld Bow, but by and large you used one of 2 Artians. You had a full attack boost reinforcement, hopefully, and that was kind of it. Element was important, it added damage, but it's nowhere near as important as close range coating for that 40% damage increase, which is why you essentially had the Fire Artian and the Water Artian as the 2 Artians that have close range coating. So that massive 230 raw, the 5% affinity, the amazing decorations, I don't need to tell you why Artian's so good. So if the monster was weaker to fire, you'd use the Fire Artian, and if it was weaker to water, you'd use the Water Artian. It doesn't matter what else it's weak to, this is the way. And this is still kind of majoritarily the way, but there has been a few little changes, a few little situations where we can actually start to look at the other 2 weapons. So firstly, the High Vault Sender, the Lagiacrus Bow. Apart from looking beautiful, it is beautiful. We lose 10 raw and 5% affinity over the Artian, but we have a big, meaty 250th base thunder element, which is more element than you get on an Artian. We also have Tetrad Shot, which is nice, and then the Convert Thunder Resistance is an extra 4 bloated element per 1 rank of Thunder Res, which can actually result in a nice amount of element. You would decorate it up with your spread shots and then level 3 Thunder Attack, like so. And the reason this is even at all relevant is because, you guessed it, it's got close range coating. So we now actually have a high thunder option with good raw and that all important close range coating. So anything that's super weak to thunder, like Seregios, this actually starts to look very appealing. So keep that in mind. There is an element tipping point where a hit zone gets to the point where this is worthwhile over a fire or water Artian with the slightly higher raw, and of course the ability to put in critical boost. It's gonna be a high element threshold, but if you see people busting this out against Seregios, well, it's not something you should be surprised at, so that's really, really cool. Then, the much more complex one, Seregios Bow, the Seregios Bow. We get that Bladescale Loading, which I'm about to go into, but other than that, 210 base attack, which isn't great, but 25% affinity, which is great. It's worse than Artian in terms of its out-the-box effective raw, but of course that's not what you'd use it for. You would give it the spread, decoration, and 3 critical boost. It's got no elements, so we don't actually lose anything versus the other bows, because you would always use space on pumping the elements, so that's kind of nice. And the 25% affinity is extra nice here, as bow struggles to get a really high amount of affinity. So all in all, if we ignore Bladescale Loading, this is just kind of a worse bow and you'd never use it. So let's talk Bladescale Loading. While you have some coatings active, when you dodge through an attack, when you iframe an attack, which of course on bow you're doing all the time with discerning dodge, you then get some extra Bladescale coatings added. 3 specifically, and you will use these before you dip into your other coatings. So it's actually quite good for just not having to reapply coatings that often, if you can just keep putting them on like this. Obviously in a training situation, that is very easy. In an actual monster situation, much less so, but it's still fairly consistent on the bow. In fact, I think bow, closely followed by dual blades, out of all the weapons, has the easiest time just naturally gaining Bladescale coatings without really changing their playstyle, because you get them from doing what you want to be doing anyway. You want to be discerning for the stamina, to not get hit, to fill your trick gauge. In any case, how powerful is it then? So to do a few quick little comparisons then, in a armor set, if I put normal close range on your Artian, your 230 raw, let's do 1000 dragons point blank, we do a good 422 damage. That's pretty solid. If we then change it to Seregios Bow, and for some reason also climb a cliff at the same time, get our special coatings, and make sure we actually have them on, you can't apply them without coatings on, and do the same thing, well, that's a lot more. That's just shy 200 more damage. You kind of see why this tends to be pretty potent. On an individual shot basis, if I just fire the once, 28 damage with your close range on your 230 base raw Artian. If I then switch to the Seregios option instead and repeat it, 34. So 28 to 34, percentage-wise, is a really, really solid gain. Just shy at the 25% damage mark. And that's kind of what you're looking at with special coatings here. We've done an entire video dedicated to testing Seregios' equipment and new skills on all the weapons, and the findings are very much, well, in depth there. But as a TLDR, your coatings from Seregios are going to be increasing your damage by at least 20% over just regular close range. That is a big deal. But how big of a deal is it in terms of which bow to choose? Well, there's no easy way to answer this, because ultimately it comes down to you as a player and how frequently you get that discerning dodge and how consistently you can land your big important moves, those being your spread and power shot, power volley alongside 1000 dragons with that special coating applied. If you can do that consistently, then Seregios Bow is really, really up there. Essentially, from a raw standpoint, because obviously there's no element here, if at least about 30 to 40% of your high damaging shots land with special coating, Seregios Bow is the best pure raw bow. So that's really cool. And when you're solo hunting, that's not that crazy to actually have happen. You have to discerning dodge a fair amount. You basically dodge, get off a few volleys, dodge, get off a few volleys, so it does start to feel like some really high uptime. And that's really, really nice. I do apologize that I can't just literally go, this is the new best bow, use it, because the 4 bows that we're considering here all have their shining moments. Basically though, if the monster isn't weak to any elements really, and you are very confident in maintaining high uptime on the coatings with good discerning dodge gameplay, Seregios is looking to be a champion option. I'll do the sort of definitive what bow when as best as possible once I've shown you the two armor sets so you have full context. In which case, let's get on to the proper builds. The first one then is as exciting as it hopefully looks, with that shiny 4-set Seregios that works beautifully for us. But before I get ahead of myself, you do then have those 4 Seregios pieces, all beta, with the beta Zoe sheer chest slotted in as the 5th piece, and you want your exploiter charm in there. Then your bow decorations are, as you might expect, as I went over, and this then is the set that you would use the Insurgent Bow if you were going to use it for those special Bladescale coatings. That because this set here specifically is our champion raw damage dealing set. Now obviously you're still in a lot of cases going to be using an element bow, the fire, the water Artian, or the thunder Lagiacrus, and therefore you will be doing elemental damage, which bow is very good at. But as you'll notice, once we fill in with the decorations, well, we don't have any elemental boosting skills that aren't on the weapon. It's just this delicious block of full adrenaline rush, full wex, full agitator. Like, how satisfying is that? There's only 6 skills total on the armor, and 4 of them are rank 5 maxed. Like, oh, I was so happy when I put this together. It just scratches a deep, satisfying itch. In any case, you then have the 1 slot set to put in full constitution, which is nice because it means we don't have to eat a drool shrew meal for fake constitution, and we can have a full-on feast, which is lovely for bow. And then 1 extra slot left over you can do whatever with. Something like medicine is nice just to make healing a bit easier, but it is up to you. In any case, we finish off weakness exploit with 3 tenderizer decorations, and then we finish agitator with 1 here. Now technically speaking, you could have done something like put in the 1 rank of burst, which is super value, but in order to get 1 rank of burst you either need to lose the final rank of agitator, which is the most valuable rank, it's worth more than all the other 4 ranks individually, or you have to get rid of a weakness exploit, which is again the most valuable rank, so you actually don't really gain anything from doing that. This is the mathematically best way. So, let's actually talk the Seregios 4 set before I show you the maths. Razor's Edge 2. What this will do then is work with Adrenaline Rush, which is fantastic on bow because, again, we're discerning dodging constantly anyway. You don't even have to think about activating it. It's just free massive amounts of raw. And it really is massive amounts of raw. 30, which is absolutely huge for us. Normally we always want at least level 1 for the initial 10, but here we can get all 5 ranks so comfortably on top of the other skills thanks to Seregios armor. So what will happen then when you adrenaline rush dodge is you'll gain adrenaline rush, and before Seregios that just meant you gain the plus 30 raw for those 30 seconds. Now, with the 4 set, you can extend that by dodging again, activating Razor's Edge 2. So now you will have yourself your adrenaline rush for a minute, which is great. So the consistency, the uptime is beautiful. But what the 4 set does that the 2 set doesn't is also increase your raw by even more. That is quite a nice number to already see with nothing else active. But how much exactly? Well, it works exactly like Guts on the Arch-Tempered gear. 5% of your base raw. So with our bow being 230 base raw, that's what gets increased by 5%, about 11.5 raw, meaning it turns Adrenaline Rush into a plus 42 raw skill, which is obviously ridiculous to say again we just get it for free by playing bow normally with your discerning dodges. This makes this an absolutely fantastic set for just reaching absurdly high raw damage values while still pumping out the element, because more than likely you'll be using a bow with element. But this all said then, this is the set, as I said, you will be using the insurgent bow if you want to use it. The second set I'll be showing you is a little bit more elementally focused, and the insurgent bow is just worse and not worth using on it. So if you want to go full Bladescale coating, full adrenaline rush, full raw, dodge play style, blasting some really high numbers, you don't care about element, this is the set for it, and it works beautifully well. To give you the numbers then, as you can see then, we end up with an EFR of 459, which is colossally high. Now, this is the math with the Artian bow, so with the Seregios, that 459 will be a little bit less by base, but a lot higher with special coatings, and it will scale even higher because of just how much base raw we get, and is being multiplied up extra by the special coatings, but you get the idea here. And to really kind of hammer it home, the EFR of the pre-Title Update 2's best bow set was 446 from the 3-ray to gore combo. And while it doesn't seem like gaining yourself 15 is huge, it really is. Like, that is a substantial bump in the current power level of wilds. So this is really, really exciting and very much worth your time. So you would use this set then if you essentially don't want to have or don't have the perfect water and fire artian bows. You want to use the fun new Seregios 4 set with that adrenaline rush pumping into your discerning dodges. You want to use Bladescale Loading and the Seregios Bow. You want to see some of the highest individual damage numbers that bow is capable of, while knowing that you're still using a top meta set, mathematically speaking. Yeah, this is for you. Then we move on to the other set, which is probably Bow's all-round best set just in existence now, thanks to Title Update 2. And that looks a little something like this. You've got your gore magala beta helm, your Zoshia beta chest, your Seregios beta arms, the alpha gore magala waist, remember it's alpha or it won't line up, and then your Mizutsune beta legs. The exploiter talisman as well, and then you want to be using this with either the Lagiacrus Bow, the fire artian, or the water artian, those classic combos with these decoration setups. And as a base then, this is really exciting because without any decorations, we've got 2 Adrenaline Rush, which is good 15 raw, we've got that 2 base Wex from the Talisman, we get 2 Agitator from the Zoshia, we've already got 2 Burst from the Mizutsune legs, a little bit of cheeky Coalescence, which helps with the element, and that 2 Burst and that Coalescence is why you don't use this set with Seregios Bow if you're going to. This set supports the element that we're already using on our bows, essentially for free, and just pushes it over the edge while we still pump our raw massively, and honestly, I'm really proud of it. This is quite the special setup. In any case, let's get it decorated up. Like so, which puts it in the following situation. Finishing Wex up to 5, Agitator up to 4, we get the 3 antivirus in for that 25% affinity from Frenzy and the 2 Gore set, and we push Constitution to 3 with the 1 slot. Now you can use this 1 slot on something else and simply eat a drool shroom meal to get the fake Constitution, which I would recommend that you do so it feels comfortable to actually use, but if you're really on it with your discerning dodges, it's not strictly necessary. But in any case then, this is really, really solid. How solid? Well, the maths shake out thusly. 456 effective raw, which is 3 less than the 4 set Seregios set, but thanks to the extra element provided by 2 burst and 1 coalescence against monsters that are weak to the elements that we can mainly use this with, fire, water, and thunder, and then even monsters that are just a little bit weak to those, it's going to push it over the edge thanks to that element damage and the extra little bit of support it has for it. So that's really, really exciting. Truthfully, you can't go wrong with either of these sets, and you really can't go wrong with the bow you're using, as long as it's one of the 4 that I've talked about today, but chiefly, this will give you the edge when it comes to any matchup where element is at all relevant, which is kind of most of them when we're looking at element as just free bonus damage over something we're deliberately pumping as much as possible. So this is really, really nice. You would use this set then if the monster that you're facing has decent elemental hit zones. We're talking, let's go with 15 to 20 or above. Not that 15's decent, but in Wild's context it kind of is. And those zones are water, then you'll use the water artian. Your fire, then you use the fire artian. Or thunder, then you'll use the Lagiacrus Thunder Bow. Then you use this set with those 3. Otherwise, you want to use the first set I showed you with either the Artian bows or Lagiacrus again, or the Seregios Bow if you're really on it with your dodges and want to really pump that perfect playing damage. Oh, so there we have it, everybody. These 2 sets essentially creep out everything that we had before Title Update 2, which is really cool. Not often that happens on a weapon so completely, and we have a lot of new toys to play with as bow users. It's really, really fun, and more I just absolutely adore this weapon. Not as much as Greatsword, of course, but oh my god, let's just say I'm happy Wilds lets you carry 2 around, so I don't have to choose. But now then, let me know if you've enjoyed this, like if you have, and consider supporting the future of this channel on Patreon down below. Until we meet again then, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.